The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Monday, the most important day of the week, March 17th, and today is St. Patrick's Day. So happy St. Patrick's Day out there, everybody. You know, it's a green day. It's also National Corned Beef and Cabbage Day, Yarrow.
Jason, you skipped. We have our very own leprechaun joke. How did you do that? What's going on?
Well, you know, I mean, it is fair that we do have the Shire, the leprechaun himself. That's right. I mean, that's it's a good point, Jesse. It's a very good point.
I'm surprised.
I'm just, you know,
that's all I'm saying.
Sorry. I apologize.
I don't mind being called a leprechaun. I do mind being called a leper.
That's fair. I think that's fair there, Yarrow. You know what I mean?
You're a leprechaun, not the leper who con.
That's right.
You know, so Yarrow, where's our pot of gold, Yarrow?
Well, gold is doing better than crypto right now. So hopefully you have some of that precious metal yourself. And, you know, I think the pot of gold, I mean, my pot of gold is the bowl I'm going to be token on when I test the State Fair cannabis here.
Test the State Fair cannabis?
Yeah. Going to be a pot.
Interesting.
Gold winners of pot.
I don't think any of them are actually really winners, bro. You really think so?
Yeah. I think there's going to be some great submissions. It'll be the second year that the fair has judges.
Okay.
And given that the Emerald Cup doesn't seem to be present this year, I think it'll be a very low cost way for cultivators and manufacturers to get their product out there and get a lot of it.
I thought Nikki and Swami were doing an event. They were basically, like, in essence, starting a new event and just going with that same script.
I don't know. They haven't told me.
Okay. All right. Interesting. But nonetheless, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, as well as on Kick and our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And so we are Rico is out today. He had a meeting that he had to attend to about his trip to New York today. So I got a question for you guys. Do one of you guys want to start off, or I'm going to start off because I ultimately have 3 stories today.
You can start me off, bro.
You want to start off, Jesse?
Yeah, no problem.
All right, fair enough. All right, we are going to kick it off with Mr. Jesse Barney. He's the founder of Barney Design Co., where you can get all of your graphic design needs met and elevate your brand to the highest plateau. That's right, it is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jesse Barney.
Yeah, thank y'all. Christopher Brady. Rico had to see a man about a horse today.
That's probably what's going on. That's fair.
All right. Well, my story comes out of futurism.com. It's The Bite, meaning it's very short, by Joe Wilson. And the headline is this: if you blazed massive amounts of weed as a youth, scientists have interesting news. When most smokers light up a joint, it's unlikely that enhanced cognitive ability is front of mind. Not shockingly, the long-held assumption from most tends to be that weed makes you dumb and probably fries your brain permanently. Intriguingly, that argument might be going up in smoke. A recent study by researchers in, where else, Amsterdam, appears to be good news for all you former teenage tokers out there, finding that the age at which men start smoking has no negative bearing on cognitive decline later in life. Adult stoners can now breathe a little easier from now on, as research also found that those who use cannabis frequently as an adult show no greater cognitive decline in the long term than those who don't partake. The study canvassed 5,162 men born between 1949 and 1961 who were sorted into two groups based on whether they had a history of using marijuana. From there, the participants who smoked were sorted into age groups based on when they started sparking up. One weakness of the study is its exclusion of women, a side effect of its reliance on the Borg pre-improved test, a military exam given to young Danish conscripts. As a part of the study, the same test was given again to the participants, who then averaged 44 years older. Maybe most surprisingly, the research found that mental decline among those who smoke was slightly less than those who don't by a measure of 1.3 IQ points. The authors note that it's difficult to compare their results to other long-term studies comparing cognitive decline between smokers and non-smokers, but that their findings do line up with other research which found no greater age-based cognitive decline associated with pot. These include an Australian study and two American, all of which included women. While the Danish study is far from the final say on the issue, it's another piece of sound research piling up against the anti-cannabis studies of years past, many of which were funded by pharmaceutical giants and right-wing think tanks. Those studies have been used throughout the United States to justify the war on marijuana, which both failed to reduce pot use and allowed police to exercise astonishing racial bias throughout minority communities. Building on this Danish study, future research could investigate whether pot's lack of long-term cognitive effects lies in underlying factors like socioeconomic class, or if the results are specific to itself. This is a cool little study, you guys. Goes along, as it said, with the other studies that we've seen, and there's many more that show that cannabis use is actually good for your brain. So I'm going to toss this over to my correspondents and see what they have to say.
Well, I mean, Jesse, we do have an endocannabinoid system for a reason, right? And maybe this is alluding to why we actually have that.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think right on the money.
That's what I specialize in, right on the money right there. What do you got to say about this, Yarrow? I think this is great news. This is showing that that stoners aren't stupid. I mean, if you're a stoner and you're stupid, you're just stupid.
Some people are stupid.
Yeah. But it's not as
stupid to use cannabis.
Yeah.
So don't underestimate the dumbing down of this country. I'm not saying that's why this guy got elected. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying
that has nothing to do with that. That's
the only troubling thing about this article is just that it didn't include any women. I would just offer that in 2025, if you're doing any studies on human beings and you exclude 50% of the human beings out there, your study has room for improvement. I like that it, for me, provides what I think is confirmation bias, which is that we're finding out that there aren't the same long-term effects that we had suspected might be present. And also it said that the brain elasticity in older people is actually improved a little bit with the cannabis use. So that's great because, like, for example, my old man who just turned 86 this past weekend, his doctor, because of a little decline in executive function, specifically math, had said, don't use cannabis. And so that doctor was giving my dad antiquated advice that doesn't align with this cutting edge research.
Would you call
So
it
it's
bad
nice-
advice?
No, because medicine is a practice, right? They're allowed to not be perfect and to continue to improve within that. And so I don't know where that doctor gets their information.
Wouldn't you
but
just call that malpractice?
No,
Okay.
no, I wouldn't.
All right.
But I like what the research is pointing to. I also know that this is the kind of show where if the research was pointing in the opposite direction, here we would still cover it, right? But
Mhm.
it's good because this one is, to me, another example of the articles that Jesse's been covering in the last couple of weeks about the optimism, the opportunity, and the possibility with clinical research, whether it was with psilocybin or with cannabis. And so what a great way to start a Monday, right? Like whether you're sipping or puffing, whatever you're getting your day started with, to know that there's some research, unfortunately not being done in the United States, but hey, that is painting some positive notes. Great way to start the week.
Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that it was done with tests with imported weed? Because all the weed in Amsterdam is imported. I mean, the majority of it is, at least.
I thought they had a pretty robust indoor cultivation scene going on there. I think it would.
Most of the indoor cultivators moved to Spain.
I think it'd be interesting to know whether there were differences with indoor versus outdoor, and whether any of those, more complex terpene profiles had an impact on the outcome of this research. And I'm obviously leading into my article.
I could tell you about the differences.
My article today is about terpenes and their potential medical benefits. So I would have liked to have seen, if they're going to exclude 50% because they don't have some sort of pre-existing military rubric for women, it would have been interesting if they could have added a little bit more variables into their test. And I think indoor versus outdoor would have been interesting to see what that produced.
Well, I think the counter to that, Yarrow, is not that it's really a counter, because you're right. Like, a modern study should include all humans. The counter was, they started 44 years ago with men who were born between 1940 something and 1961. And so this is clearly an older military group of people. Mm-hmm. And so having 5,000 people that they could check 44 years later is pretty high value, regardless of the fact that there's clearly no women in the Danish army.
So I misread the article. I thought it had started 20 years ago and they did like a 20-year and a 15-year test. But either way, I'm always going to be the guy that is arguing for parity and remembering to remind the world that, the woman thing is still important. And hopefully, they got that memo over there too. And their next study is going to include females, and we'll be able to report on that 20 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that will happen given the nature of this. And I think the coolest thing that was in here was that the people who were the highest smokers from the youngest, who smoked the longest, had an IQ increase over time. And, these people are taking this test when they're 18, 19, 20 years old and getting it 44 years later. Mm-hmm. So they're in their 50s and 60s and they're having a cognitive increase. That's pretty incredible news.
That is pretty incredible. I agree with that. I totally agree with you.
I want cognitive increase when I'm 60.
Jesse, you're fairly close to there though, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Saying
45 and climbing, baby.
Just 45. You're only 45. I'm older than you.
Yeah, you didn't know that, dude?
Get out of here. Yeah. Get out of here. On that, we're going to roll into our first commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh, man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, I left one, And I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. every batch all the way through pharmaceutical grade and in a GMP certified facility, so you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where will I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Oh, and we are back, you guys. We are back, and I finally got all those posts put up with a link. So I want to roll into my story, one of my stories today, you guys, because since we're talking about research and all this stuff, you know what I mean? There was a lot of medical stories that were out today, and so I wish we had some of the doctors on with us today, but nonetheless, cannabis. That's right, you guys, is interfering with the heart. And it's not just the broken-hearted ones out there, Yarrow. Because new research suggests clinicians should warn patients about the potential of cannabis to harm cardiovascular health. But how big a risk cannabis presents depends on the amount used and how much stock should be placed in observational studies, they say, you guys. The link between cannabinoids and cardiovascular disease, which used to be limited to evidence from preclinical studies, case reports, and case series, is now evident in epidemiological studies. Researchers from Stanford reported in a recent paper in Nature Reviews Cardiology, they say, a large-scale U.S. study from 2024 relied on survey data from more than 430,000 respondents. I think there's probably some females in there, Yarrow. And found the 4% of respondents who reported using cannabis daily had a 49% increased risk of myocardial infarction and a twofold increased risk of stroke. The added risk from cannabis was similar among those who also smoked tobacco and those who never used tobacco. So that doesn't sound like there's a big of a difference, but nonetheless. The effect was also dependent among weekly users. Cannabis was associated with a 3% increased likelihood of heart attack and a 5% increased risk for stroke, they say. Heart attack and strokes, well, they say the findings echo another Stanford University study from 2022, which analyzed UK biobank data from 500,000 participants aged 40 years and found those who reported smoking cannabis were significantly more likely to have a heart attack than compared with non-users. That's 53% versus 45%, they say. Several studies have found an association between arrhythmia, especially atrial fibrillation, and cannabis use. And a study published last year in the European Heart Journal showed the risk for new onset arrhythmia in the first 180 days was 0.8% among more than 5,000 patients who had filed a cannabis prescription versus 0.4% for control participants, which matched according to age, sex, and the use of their pain medications. Although cannabis contains 100 T cannabinoids, research from cell culture and mouse models suggests THC can cause inflammation and oxidative stress inside the vasculatory, explained Mark Shandy, MD, PhD, a cardiologist, scientist, and assistant professor at Western University in London, Ontario, Canada. He is a co-author on the Stanford study as well as the Nature Reviews Cardiology paper, and THC binds to the CB1 receptor found in the brain, but also in the microderm vascular entheogens and smooth muscle cells, they say. The CB1 receptor promotes an atherosclerotic changes, and Chandy explained, adding that mouse models have found that cannabis increases aristocratic plaques, which scientists also theorized that cannabis might have a prothrombotic effect increasing the risk for heart attacks and strokes. When it comes to arrhythmia, the activation of CB1 and CB2 receptors can also lead to enzyme inhibition that could ultimately affect the heart's electrical condition system. And disturbing the heart's electrical condition, Chip Levine, MD, medical director at the John Ochsner Heart and Vascular Institute in New Orleans, Louisiana, said that vasospasm and construction of blood vessels combined with high platelet aggression is the most probable mechanism explaining the association between cannabis and cardiovascular disease. However, he also said that studies show that cannabis can increase the heart rate, and many studies show the benefits of a low resting heart rate, he explained. Levy also said that considering the evidence, he recommends patients avoid cannabis. If that is not possible, he advises patients to reduce their cannabis use and consume edible cannabis or oils rather than smoking. And although there isn't enough evidence to show that consuming cannabis by edibles or oils is safer for the heart, burning cannabis adds toxins, he says. And Shandy also suggested that cardiologists inform patients who use cannabis about the potential long-term cardiovascular side effects. In a quote, they say, "I would advise them not to use cannabis. At least they should be able to make an informed decision about it and know the potential consequences of it," he says. Despite the emerging association between cardiovascular disease and cannabis use, in a quote, he says, "There isn't super strong evidence of casual effects," said Anders Holt, MD, a cardiologist at Copenhagen University Hospital in Copenhagen, Denmark, who led the study that found higher rates of arrhythmia among medical cannabis users. Mouse models frequently don't translate to human physiology, he said. And weighing the evidence, he says, as long-term randomized controlled trials studying cannabis and the heart are not feasible or ethical evidence, comes from observational studies which are prone to confounders, he says. For example, those who consume cannabis for adult use purposes may be more likely to engage in other activities like alcohol consumption or high caloric diets, he says. That seems like a little shot right there. And he says also, which can have an impact on cardiovascular results. Much of the evidence linking cannabis use, coronary artery disease, is based on studies of participants being asked about recent cannabis use, and patients may misremember previous use, focus only on their use in the last week, or hide their cannabis use from doctors. Holt's study was a less prone to recall bias, as it relied on medical prescriptions rather than self-reported data, and still there could be important differences between patients who fill medical cannabis prescriptions and those who don't. But the big picture overall, they say, however, it may not matter whether the association between cannabis and an increased cardiovascular disease risk is due to lifestyle or the selection of these patients or the active components, suggested Holt. In a quote, he says, "We know that the people who use cannabis are at an elevated risk, so maybe they should be getting a more vigilant approach," he says. Well, I wonder if that's because they're high and that's why they're elevated, but nonetheless. Talking to patients, he said, Holt said it would be reasonable, in quotes, to bring up emerging evidence that puts into question whether medical cannabis is entirely safe for the heart. And when talking to patients about lifestyle changes, they can make or reduce their risk for cardiovascular complications. And despite the increased risk for arrhythmia, Holt said his study doesn't imply that medical cannabis should be used for chronic pain. However, for one, the overall absolute risk for arrhythmia remains low, and for another, treating pain allows patients to engage in activities that are good for their overall health, and cannabis could be safer than alternatives. In a quote, they say, "There is very good evidence that non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, better known as NSAIDs, anti-epileptic drugs, and opioids are not ideal for the heart either." In addition to discussing why patients use cannabis, Chanley suggested cardiologists discuss with their patients how much cannabis they consume and the route of administration administration. And in a quote, they say, "One of the good things about legalization is that we now have labels to indicate approximately how much THC is inside," said Shanley. Well, they don't know about lab shopping, but whatever. And Shanley is especially concerned about synthetic cannabinoids created in labs to blind more tightly to the CB1 receptor and create more intense psychedelic effects, he says. In a quote, "The data is more limited on the synthetic cannabis, but given its binding so tightly to the CB1 receptor, I would expect that it would cause more cardiovascular disease," he says. He also worries that the effects of cannabis will become more pronounced in the coming decades as research shows more young people are using cannabis. In a quote, he says, "Just like with cigarettes, it's not just how much, but how long you're exposed to it," he says. Well, I think this is a bunch of hoopla and what the nonsense, but I think probably one of the biggest things that they talk about with this study in regards with people and their cardiovascular, I think a lot of that has to do with the prohibition and people getting nervous when the cops pull up. But nonetheless, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
This study is a joke, man. They admit right in the middle that there's a ton of flaws, and then they just say, it probably doesn't really matter though that there's all these flaws because cannabis users, we know that they have bad lifestyle choices. Excuse me, but every person that I know that smokes weed is one of the healthiest people that I know in my life. Yeah. They're generally eat better. They're generally more interested in organic foods. They're generally more aligned with like the Maha movement and the things of that nature. Even if they're not Republican or Trump voters, they're still aligned with those things. And they work out more. They tend to be, especially as they get older, they tend to be healthier. I don't see a lot of people who are really heavy cannabis users who really love the plant, who eat a ton of junk food and live terrible lifestyles. It's just not the case.
I mean,
what's that?
It happens.
Go for it, Jenny.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not normal, I don't think, in the cannabis user life. I mean, look at there's 4 of us right here. We're a perfect representation. We're all healthy and older.
Fair. That's fair. I mean,
we're not 20.
I think Jenny Beth is the youngest one on stage today.
She definitely is. She's our baby.
I agree with you, Jesse. I think it's fucking hilarious that they're like, "Oh, this is probably not right, but just run it. Just send it."
I feel like this might be like the one of the last of the just using that remaining USAID money that was already appropriated, and that's why this study is even coming out right now.
This was definitely funded by.
Is that what you think it is?
Go for it, Yarrow.
Good morning, Yarrow.
It's his leprechaun day, Jenny Beth.
Oh.
I had a really inappropriate joke that I'm just.
Go for it. Come on, say it. We're here for it. We're here for the inappropriateness, Yarrow. Come on.
I'll tell Jenny offline. It's not
cute.
too funny.
Oh,
cute,
boy.
Inappropriate.
That's rude.
Private.
Sharing is caring, Yarrow.
Private, Jason.
Don't demonetize us now, Yarrow.
Yeah. So, and we're talking about health, and I'm clearly sick between the ears, so we'll just take that offline. Look, I think that studies are supposed to point out the limitations of their work. So I'm happy that researchers, authors are doing that. Pointing out the limitations, I think, is academic honesty. I wonder if, as much as there's people who are enjoying cannabis and active and doing their little microdosing and their Pilates, if there isn't also some truth to the couch potato theory. And so, I do think there's a convergence of cannabis and wellness, and people who are paying a lot of attention to what they put in their body and eating clean and caring very much about their wellness and seeing cannabis as a part of their homeostasis regimen. And there are still fat fucks eating too much ice cream after watching their 3rd movie in a row on the couch and dabbing, right? And that's
they're Netflix and chilling, bro.
That's not an attack on dabbing. That's not an attack on movies, and that's not an attack on ice cream. So, depending upon who their respondent group was, I can see that there might be some incomplete data that supports what they're saying.
I think there's a lot of incomplete data in this, and the fact that they alluded that a lot of people that smoke cannabis live an unhealthy lifestyle and unhealthy appetites and whatnot, I think was a little much of a low blow.
There's a lot of people that have unhealthy lifestyles in this country, period.
Yeah.
And so out of the people who are not living a healthy lifestyle or who could be living a healthier lifestyle, we of all people know that a lot of people consume cannabis in the United States more than who are normally willing to admit that they do. And so if you take the unhealthy aggregated lifestyle of many Americans and then you add in cannabis on top of that, it doesn't mean that cannabis is the cause.
Exactly. Exactly. Yarrow, I brought up at the doctors on Friday, I have this theory or hypothesis that weed is really an amplifier or an enhancer. And I think we all kind of anecdotally experienced that. And the reason I say that is as a musician and an artist throughout my life, I've found that weed really enhances and amplifies my ability to play music instead of decreasing it. And I think that also the same is true. Like if you're already lazy and you start smoking weed, it probably makes you more lazy. If you're already productive and a very active person and interested in health and things like that, smoking weed just enhances your ability to do that. It's like a switcher that's just amplifying your neural pathways that you're already building. And Dr. T was like, oh, that's an interesting theory. I think there might be something to that. So I think we're both on the same page as far as that goes. There are couch potatoes.
Yeah, there's a reason why we use the term couch lock. I mean, let's not get too high and mighty. There's some people who definitely would use this to unwind and be sedentary, to turn off their mind, to be able to find a way to relax. And so that's the other part of it, right? Like, yeah, sure, we probably have a fitness issue and a lack of getting out there and moving it so we don't lose it in this country. But we also have a country that works too hard and doesn't relax and doesn't take the time to turn off everything and just unwind. And so I think if we're going to look at the overall impacts of cannabis on wellness and not just the physical impacts, we also need to look at the psychological impacts and the benefits of people being able to just chill.
Well, and this just goes to highlight that cannabis should be part of a holistic plan for your healthy lifestyle. It should not just be a crutch that you use.
Although you can use a crutch, provided it's in your joint.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Oh boy.
That's right.
Leprechauns love crutches. They keep them propped up.
Why are leprechauns suddenly gimpy? I don't understand the association there, bro. They walk just fine.
I bet. You know, fair enough. Jenny Beth, you want to introduce Yarrow? Yarrow doesn't. Yarrow doesn't. Yeah, Yarrow doesn't like my introduction. So you know what I mean. It's St. Patrick's Day, and since he's a leprechaun, you know what I mean.
Well, it's because you guys are both short, and you make fun of him for it, not yourself. That's
I'm
weird.
I'm not short.
We all think it's weird, you know.
You can think whatever you want to think. You know, you're entitled to be wrong all the time. You're wrong most of the time, so it's fine.
It's true that picture of us at the Yoko Ranch.
The angriest elf on the Hyatt 9 shelf. The burrow-headed real estate selling second-generation cultivator, Yarrow Kubrin.
Oh my goodness! Thank you. I appreciate you, and I adore you. And
I know,
Jason, the photo documentation of us at the Yoko Ranch would suggest your perception of the height differential is not aligned with the science.
Not even close, bro. That's cute, though. That's cute. That's cute.
So, without further ado, my article today, I think, dovetails perfectly with Jesse's article, talking about research on the benefits of cannabis and cannabis-derived compounds. And so, my article is, something I'm really excited to share because it's from Neuroscience Today, and it's about cannabis terpenes offering new hope for chronic pain, such as fibromyalgia. So recent research has highlighted the potential of cannabis-derived terpenes, such as geranol and linalool, to alleviate chronic pain from conditions like fibromyalgia and post-surgical recovery. And these compounds, known for their aromatic properties, offer an alternative to opioids to avoid the psychotropic effects, the psychoactive effects of THC. And in mouse models, those terpenes were shown to significantly reduce pain, providing hope for non-opioid treatments for chronic and post-operative pain. The study, led by researchers at the University of Arizona, so U.S. research, explored the effects of terpenes on fibromyalgia and post-surgical pain. The team found that while terpenes are not effective for acute pain, they were highly effective in chronic pain scenarios. This marks a significant step in understanding how terpenes might address fibromyalgia, a condition with few treatment options. Researchers tested for terpenes, geranol, linalool, beta-carotene, and alpha-humulene derived from cannabis sativa. Yes, I mispronounce everything. With geranol showing the most promising pain-relieving results, these terpenes appeared to work by targeting the adenosine A2A receptor, which is known for its role in pain management. This discovery opens a door to developing terpene-based therapies without the risk of addiction or side effects with opioids. The findings have broad implications, not just for fibromyalgia, but also for millions undergoing surgery annually. Terpenes might provide a new, safer avenue for managing post-surgical pain, and an area where current opioid treatments carry significant risks. The study's results contribute to the growing body of research suggesting that natural compounds from plants could provide alternative treatments for chronic pain conditions. So, one point of correction, opioids are also from plants. So let's not get that twisted. I just kicked this off with my fellow pundits and talking heads by saying that it's not lost on me that terpenes are actually more valuable these days than common cannabinoids. They're less present, and the fact that they offer promise is really exciting. I also think that it reinforces that some people that have been using cannabis for homeostasis, wellness, pain relief, may be actually benefiting as much, if not more, from the terpenes in cannabis than from the THC in cannabis. What I especially appreciate, before I pass the baton to my fellow guests and pundits, is that the conversation about the importance of terpenes has been happening for half a decade within the industry. And we continue to scratch our head and wonder why, aside from the excessive taxes, why consumers and customers continue to focus primarily on on THC and potency percentages. And with this new research, my hope would be that we can continue to provide third-party data that opens up people's perspective about what should be measured in order to quantify the quality of the cannabis they're consuming. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News, Monday morning. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, this is even more the reason why I say we need to eliminate the THC labels on cannabis and focus more on terpenes, Yarrow. This just reiterates my point. As Jenny rolls her eyes.
My eyes rolled so hard. Every time you say that, Jason, my head hurts a little bit more.
Amazing.
Like,
I'm here for it.
We're not going to eliminate the THC percentage in testing. Like, that's not a fucking thing. What we should have done as an industry was not miseducate our consumers as a marketing tactic. That's probably what we fucking should have done, right? But like, this is going to be a re-education process, and we're not going to take the THC labels off. That's like the dumbest shit that I've...
No, it's not.
Of all the dumb shit, that's like the dumbest one.
No, it's not. It's actually the smartest thing.
No one will do it, though, is the problem.
No, that's true.
I mean, the customers just, even if you did take it off, they would come in and ask, and if there was a package that didn't have the THC percentage and one that did, they're going to buy the one with the THC.
Yeah, but if the state comes out and says, you know what, no THC labeling on any flower product, it's done and over with. Boom.
Yeah, that'll definitely never happen.
It. Yeah.
Well, you know, my Diet Coke right now is telling me how much total fat, how much sodium percentage, total carbs, protein, and calories are in it. You know, 0 because it's Diet Coke, but it's labeled.
And it's still terrible for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it should. I see where you're going with that, Jenny. It should be like the labeling and the quality of labeling and the way that it's translated to the consumer should be more holistic and bigger picture, and we should have all of the things. I think there's something here that's inherent, is that most of these terpenes are really volatile and they don't last very long on the plant. And they don't really last very long through any kind of extraction process either, even if it's fresh rosin or fresh pressed resin, even from flower. Any heat can get rid of these things fairly quickly. In fact, obviously, the more you smell it when you're pressing rosin or resin, it's all in the air, right? So educating the consumer that super fresh homegrown weed that's cured perfectly is really the best option to get the most terpenes. And that is something that people just, it's like try to convince people to grow their own homegrown lettuces. It's super easy. Most people in America can do it.
They're not.
But they're just not going to do it. And that's kind of the problem. There's a cultural problem that we have in America where we're not going to take the 5 minutes a day to water our plants. That seems to be the thing that is actually underneath all of this. And we're not going to get to quality weed with quality terpenes that do the things that this article's talking about unless we can change the culture of like spend 5 minutes a day watering your plants.
That's a fair point, Jesse. It's a fair point. You know, people are lazy though, as my first story kind of pointed out. They just, you know what I mean? just is what it is. Just is what it is. Jenny Beth, on your label, it doesn't mention anything about the cocaine terps that are added into the Diet Coke, are there?
No cocaine terps that are added.
100%.
Carbonated water, caramel color, aspartame, phosphoric acid, cocaine. Yeah, they're on there.
All right. Okay. You didn't know that? You didn't know that, Yarrow? Coca-Cola is the only company that has a legal license from the federal government to import cocaine because they extract the terps and put that into Coke's flavoring.
To grow it,
I think you are misspeaking.
Facility.
I think you are talking about the difference between coca, which is a plant, and cocaine, which is a derivative of the plant. They're not the same thing, deriving terpenes from cocaine, which is processed
cocaine terps,
gasoline. Bro. Stop the bullshit.
Cocaine terps, bro. It's all the same. They're all the same. You know, just because there's a little chlorophyll added, it's all the same thing.
Yarrow, you know you can't get in a semantic argument.
Your commitment to the truth is low.
Oh, you guys are funny.
Shades of the truth.
You guys are funny.
We're infotainment. We're the information. Jason's the tainment.
That's cute. That's cute.
He puts the taint in tainment.
Shut up.
I'm smelling it right now, and it needs to be washed of its BS.
I'm just telling you, man. You know, I'm for full panel labels. That's all I'm saying. And on that, we're gonna roll
Your
into
mindset is musty, bro. Go back to the soap.
We're gonna roll into our next commercial, and we are gonna be right back.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna and say hi.
Oh, yes.
And there we go.
Yeah,
there we go.
And we are back. Oh, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highatnightnews.com.
I'm Cole Preston, and today I'm at Blue Island Beer Company for the premiere of my mini documentary on legalization policy in Illinois. I've been following cannabis policy since colorful Colorado legalized it all the way back in the day, and when my home state of Illinois decided to legalize it, I just became enamored. I wondered, what would it actually look like? If you'd like to see how Illinois fell short in achieving meaningful reform in their cannabis policy, you can watch my mini-doc now at colememo.com/mini-doc.
Do what?
Oh, and we are back. Jenny, do you want to go right now, or do you want me to do my second story? It's up to you.
Run it. Let's go. I'll do it.
All right. Fair enough. Minnesota. That's right. Cannabis business application system, Jenny Beth. You're going to love this. Shuts down before licensing deadline, just hours before the licensing deadline. Jenny Beth, what do you got to say about this?
Why do they always do that to us?
They always do that. Minnesota's Office of Cannabis Management licensing website shut down at 9 p.m. on Friday, leaving business applicants scrambling to complete the process by 11:59 p.m. deadline. That's right. Officials with Acela, the third-party vendor, say the site was back up and running by 4 a.m. on Saturday, and the deadline to apply for a cannabis license through the Acela portal has been extended till 11:59 p.m. on Sunday, you guys. Well, you want to know what happened? Well, officials with the OCM's third-party vendor Acela say the system underwent a maintenance on Friday night shortly after 9 p.m. and the online licensing system was down until 4 a.m. on Saturday and is now back on. OCM officials say because of the maintenance and the website shutdown, they extended their licensing deadline to 11:59 p.m. on Saturday, and people seeking to apply for a license before midnight should do so through the Acela portal. OCM officials say they're continuing to monitor customer service, but responses could be delayed, and of course, they have no clue when any of these businesses will be open for business. And the OCM will begin accepting licensing applications on February 18th through March 16th, they say, you guys. And man, both social equity and general applications will be accepted for an array of license types, including micro business, meso businesses. What's that one, Jenny? Cultivator, manufacturer, retailer, wholesaler, transporter, testing facility, delivery service, and medical cannabis combination business. And there are caps on some of these licenses, including meso business and the 100 licenses allowed on that, and cultivators only 50 licenses allowed, and manufacturers only 24 licenses allowed, and retailers, they're saying they're only going to allow up to 150 in the state. And the state says half of all the cap licenses will be split half and half between social equity applicants and general applicants, they say. Well, Minnesota and Acela, you sound like a failed program, and why you would schedule a system update or maintenance during people importing their documents and whatnot is just mind-boggling to me, and just sounds just more and more like, more epic fails from the cannabis industry. And I can't wait to hear what y'all have to say about this. You working on your what's that?
It's like 200 or it's 300 and some licenses total.
No, more than that.
All the types of businesses.
More than that.
It was 100 of meso businesses.
Well, they didn't mention all of the license types. So what you're counting is just the ones that were listed. It wasn't all. That wasn't all of the license types.
Wow.
They're doing 50-50, 50 social equity, 50 general applications.
Didn't we report on this like months ago that they had a massive problem with their social equity program, or was it that they were doing really well with it?
I don't think it was either. We've been just reporting on how much they've been crushing with beverages, and that's pretty much all that they've been doing.
I thought I remembered a social equity story that was pretty big a while ago, but
they're crushing with the beverages that Jason continues to discount as non-applicable.
They are.
Well, they don't have any terpenes.
They got the same terpenes as Coca-Cola.
They've got coca terpenes.
Yeah, the cocaine terps. Mm-hmm.
So those miso businesses, at first I thought it was like a bean curd soup based permit, but that's I guess Japanese food.
It's not spelled like that.
Yeah, you're right. It's with an E instead of an I.
And it has Z's in there.
Yeah, and then I thought miso horny, but that's not. That's also not. That's with an E, not an I. But
I know what it is.
It's a vertically integrated license.
No, it mandates that you have to grow Skittles with it because it has all those Z's in it.
That too.
Mm-hmm.
That too.
Fuck. Well.
What's that, Jenny?
I mean, the entire info portion of the show, we just shot that shit. That's okay. I guess. Acela is a pain in the ass portal. I don't understand why they would have done that. I don't understand why they didn't have the foresight to say woohoo. But you guys got a little extra time, so call me. I'll submit your license for you. I don't know what to tell you. Like, just smack it up, get it done. It's not that difficult. And the fact that the larger portion of what you do in Excel is uploading documents that you've already downloaded from the state's website. Like, if you wait to the last minute, I took a call on the show today because I have a client that waited to the last minute to pay a fee that needed to be paid. You do this shit up here. I'm sorry. If it goes down at 11:59 p.m. or whatever, and you have a situation going, and you should have done this already.
Yep, I agree with that.
I have a very different perspective. I'm so excited to be able to argue with you. It gives me great joy. In real estate, if it says offers are due... Let me finish before you start arguing with me, but I guess not. Okay, go for it. I'm sorry.
He doesn't care to let women finish.
No, no, I didn't mean to pull a Samana just right over you. No, you finish. I'll be quiet and then I'll argue.
Yeah, ladies always should finish first. Thank you. Anyway. Sorry. I mean, I get it. If you wait till the last minute, but like prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Go ahead, Yarrow.
First of all, let me say I apologize for interrupting. I get as much out of what you say as our viewers do, and I just sometimes the coffee gets the best of me.
I still love you.
It's the high chair.
We stop recording at 10:30. So, in real estate, if we have an offer review of Wednesday at 5 p.m., I don't put in the offer Tuesday at 11 a.m. I wait until Wednesday at 4:45 p.m. to shoot my offer in because I know when the deadline is and because I don't want my offer to be weaponized against the buyer by the seller telling a bunch of other quasi-interested parties, hey, we've already got offers pouring in, or hey, you're going to have to sharpen your pencil because it's going to need to be above whatever. And so there are places in business outside of permitting and entitlement processes where waiting until the very last minute is kind of a time-tested strategy. Now, we can say, oh, all these stoner entities, they're just waiting, they just don't have their shit together. But I wait until the last minute on a lot of deadlines, like with the Office of Cannabis in San Francisco, because my brain has been trained over 22 years. What's the deadline? Okay, I put it in right before the deadline. So with this, there was a Friday night, midnight deadline. The website goes down at 9 o'clock. It's not, in my mind, the vast majority of the people are going to wait until the last minute to put that deadline in, timestamp it, and know that they got it in. So that 9 p.m. fizzle, when there's 3 more hours before it needs to be done, is terrible. And the offset to that is that Minnesota just said, well, great, we'll open it up till Saturday. There are likely very capable entities who had a strategy to put it in there, but may not necessarily work on Saturday. You're penalizing anybody who practices religiously and is not allowed to work on the Sabbath. You're penalizing the people who maybe had to had plans for the weekend or whatever. And if your website goes down on your side, like, I don't even think it's fair to go, oh, well, you have another 24 hours. I'd be like, oops, our bad. You have another week, okay? Because it happened on the Minnesota side. It didn't happen on the operator side. So Jenny's right? She deals with the people whose hair is on fire and they have these last-minute crises and they need to solve it and they call her. And so she's dealing with these people that don't plan properly, and then she has to be a firefighter. But I'm also like, okay, if the government's website stopped working, no fault of the operator, and the government solution was to give you an additional 1 day over the weekend, I don't necessarily feel like that's a commensurate solution. I just don't think that's entirely equitable. So if your website crashes, that's on you. And if your only solution is to give people an additional 24 hours on a non-work day, I think they would do better.
I would love to see a lawsuit of someone saying that they were unable to file because because the website went down and they had to observe the Sabbath as far as a religious day. Oh, that would play out so well.
It does penalize.
I think that's a fair point.
A bunch of people who are religiously observant.
Yep. I would love to watch that lawsuit play out. That would be so amazing.
Hold on one fucking second. Pause button. What day did it go down? What day of the week did it go down?
Friday.
All right. If you're that observant of Shabbat, you're not supposed to be on electronics.
I know.
Up any fucking way. So,
except, and here's the except. Okay, Minnesota time versus California time means that the people in California who were submitting apps
would have been 6 p.m.
That's right, and that is why I think my argument holds weight.
Yarrow has a point there. I have to side with Yarrow on this. He has a good point. I would love to see this play out in court. This would be great.
You think they'll get the lawsuit filed on time, or you think they're gonna miss the deadline for that?
They'll file it today.
I don't see anything play out in court. I like to play outside of court.
You have any final thoughts on this, Jesse?
I'm playing with the courts. I've learned my lesson on that one. I'm not fucking playing with it.
I was just going to say, clearly, we found our couch lock stoners.
Oh, lesson learned.
That's a good point, too, Jesse. We definitely did find the couch lock stoners. And on that, we are going to roll into our final commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh, man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade. And in a GMP certified facility, so you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where am I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Oh, wow. Man. And we are going to roll right into Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served that helps justice impaired individuals get their lives back on track. And apparently she's a big advocate for cocaine terps inside of her Diet Coke. That's right. It is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Do not call me a cocaine advocate. Redo that intro.
I said cocaine terps.
I just said.
Cocaine terps.
I just said.
Oh boy, dissent all you want. You're on.
Yeah, fuck you, Jason. That's okay.
Fair, whatever.
Jason is my best friend, for those of y'all watching, so that's the only reason why he is still living and breathing after that stupid ass introduction. Because I would miss him if he was dead.
You would.
Annoying. What the fuck? All right, South Africa, cool.
Yep.
South Africa is they're not doing the shit. So South Africa's new blanket ban on cannabis and hemp and food products is facing major backlash. On March 7th, the National Department of Health officially banned the import, manufacture, and sale of any food containing cannabis or hemp products. This includes any part of the cannabis plant, whether it's sativa indica ruderalis, hemp, seed oil, or powder derivatives. Sounds like cocaine terps. Violating the ban could lead to fines or imprisonment. But critics like Connor Davis, COO of medical cannabis group ACOS Bio, says the move is heavy-handed and misinformed. Davis argues that by failing to distinguish between hemp and cannabis, the government is criminalizing safe, non-psychoactive products like hemp seed oil and flour that are widely accepted worldwide. Davis highlights that industrial hemp plays a key role in sustainable development, contributing to textiles, biofuels, and eco-friendly materials. He believes the ban not only harms this legitimate industry, but also undermines economic growth and innovation. This move also clashes with South Africa's 2018 constitutional court ruling that decriminalizing private cannabis use. Though the Cannabis for Private Purposes Act has been signed, it remains inactive due to a lack of regulatory framework, leaving businesses and consumers in legal uncertainty. Davis calls for informed regulation, not prohibition. He suggests clear safety and quality standards for hemp products and clearer guidelines for legal cannabis sales. For now, the future of South Africa's cannabis industry hangs in the balance. Doesn't sound like a lot of uncertainty to me. It sounds like don't fucking do it or we will put your happy ass in jail. So I think that it's very unfortunate that they're scaling back and rolling back the progress that they created in 2018, but they've been pretty clear about it. So what do you guys think?
Sounds like the opportunity to make money is in South Africa.
Yeah, sounds like prices are about to go up out there. Man, send a box to South Africa and get it popping.
We're going to risk it for the biscuit in South Africa? Because, I mean, we're talking about the same place that, you know, was segregated way after the U.S. Like, they don't really get on other people's programs. They kind of do what they want. So that's fair. So I was a little confused because I thought that they had medical cannabis out there, but your article was in regards with the hemp market. Am I correct on that, Jenny? Any cannabis portion, it doesn't. They're not distinguishing. They're saying, "Hey, all of it, fuck you."
No hemp hearts in your breakfast cereal.
Interesting.
Hemp hearts are delicious, by the way.
They are.
Are they? Is this also going to impact hemp seeds?
Yes, Jason.
Nothing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's hard. I think
all of it is confusing.
I remember going to Canatech back in 2017 or 18, back in the Paleolithic period, and I remember people talking about the promise and the opportunity of South Africa. And so this, to me, seems like an admission of defeat by the government that they can't stand up reasonable regs. And even governments that are standing up unreasonable regs are still slogging their way through making mistakes and adjustments. And so this idea is so regressive. I think about the operators, I think about the investors, and I think about the patients. And it's like, this is a head scratcher. And Jenny's right. Like, of countries with a recent history of bad policies, South Africa is up there in the top 10 for sure. And so the idea that they could say this and do this with a straight face is very challenging.
The fact they literally had to make a movie like The Color of Friendship to call to the world's attention the fact that the apartheid movement happened so fucking recently. Like, it's, first of all, not lost on me that it's the whitest place in Africa. But the fact that they were like, yes, we're white, we're going to stay fucking white. Here's these laws, we're not going to actually enact them. Like, South Africa is so ass backwards that it literally makes my head hurt at the moment.
Look at that. Something else that makes
you're blinking real hard.
Something else that makes Jenny's head hurt.
It makes my heart hurt. Like, you have a pain in a different place, and that's fine. But it's deeply troubling, and this country I don't think can afford to continue to be on the wrong side of history.
Well, they're affording.
But they're going to, and that's the fucking frustrating part. That's why my head hurts. Like, yes, obviously it is deeply troubling for many, many reasons. But my head is spinning because they're just like middle finger to all reason. They created and passed a law that they had it wasn't that they failed to put in regulatory framework. It's that they never fucking probably intended to in the first place.
They never activated the law that they signed until the regulatory framework has been established. And the thing is, they could come over here and they could just cut and paste some MIDS policy that has both benefits and detriments and still be further along. Call me, South Africa, call me. I'll make some time for you.
Yeah, we could help you out. Easy peasy over there. But it doesn't sound...
www.kindcannabis.us.
Not www.kindcannabis.sa, huh?
No, US. It's my fucking website, dog. Well, inquiries button.
Shout out to South Africa. Well, I guess we know Elon isn't going anywhere anytime soon after this policy.
I don't believe he thinks that all the laws apply to him.
Stop
Because
it.
they don't.
Stop it, Yarrow. Stop
You don't
it.
get to go through and create government efficiencies while simultaneously sucking off the $40 billion you get in government contracts.
Oh,
Damn,
boy.
2 hands, Yarrow? There you go, bud.
He's you know,
40 billion is 2 hands.
40
twist,
billion. Oh man, you guys, this is fun. We're gonna roll into our final story of the day today, you guys.
And once again, Elon Musk's favorite elf on the shelf,
Oh boy.
Donald Trump's best backside buddy, Jason Beck.
Cute Jenny Beth. Cute Jenny Beth. Well,
Threw up in my mouth.
Well, you guys, Texas lawmaker files a bill to legalize adult use marijuana, including home grow and licensed stores, you guys. That's right. State Representative James Tallarico, a Democrat, has introduced House Bill 5307, a measure that would legalize adult use marijuana in Texas, allowing adults 21 and older to purchase, possess, and cultivate cannabis for personal use. The bill filed today would establish a regulated market for marijuana, setting up licensing for growers, distributors, and retailers. Under the proposal, adults could legally possess up to 2.5 ounces of marijuana and 15 grams of cannabis concentrate. Home cultivation would also be allowed, with individuals allowed to grow up to 6 plants and a maximum of 12 plants per household. HB 5307 also includes provisions for expunging past marijuana-related convictions, along with taxation measures directing revenue to public education, substance abuse treatment, and local governments. The Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation would oversee the program, and Tallarico's bill is one of several marijuana-related proposals introduced in the Texas legislature this session. House Bill 1208, sponsored by Representative Jessica Gonzalez, also a Democrat, would also legalize adult use marijuana, while Senate Bill 1505 seeks to expand the state's limited medical marijuana program. Meanwhile, Senate Bill 3 would impose new restrictions on hemp-derived THC products, banning popular items such as Delta-8 and Delta-9 THC, you guys. But despite growing support for reform, Texas maintains strict marijuana laws. Possessions of 2 ounces or less remains a Class B misdemeanor, and carrying up to 180 days in jail and a $2,000 fine. The state's medical marijuana program is limited to low THC products, that's right, 1% THC or less, and only covers a narrow list of qualifying conditions, you guys. Well, Big Texas, they got a big bill in play that could legalize adult use marijuana out there. Will it pass? Will it just die out in the House, or will it make it to the Senate and ultimately to Governor Abbott's desk? Well, only time will tell, and we will cover it all here at High at 9 News for you, but I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Let's go, Texas.
I think Texas is taking their notes from South Africa and is going to be on the wrong side of history with a variety of issues. And I don't think that they are being uniform in the way that they approach civil liberties and personal choices.
Oh boy, I see where you're going there, Yarrow. I'm not taking the bait though, but I see where you're going, trying to
Look,
allude to
in this one regard. When the attorney general is suing local police chiefs because he doesn't like the police cooperating with the city council and with the will of the people, that is not the form of democracy that we celebrate in this country.
I mean, I don't know. What do you guys say, Jesse?
Unfortunately, Ken Paxton doesn't seem to represent Texans very well at all. He seems to be marching to the beat of his own drum or that of Big Pharma and his other corporate buddies.
Well, he's from Maryland. He's not even a Texan.
Yeah, but Abbott rhymes with maggot, so you know.
What? Wait, whoa, what?
Easy there.
I said
Easy there.
Abbott rhymes with maggot, and not maggot.
I heard that wrong, and I'm going to continue to.
Yeah. Brian Dombrowski in the chat, he says, unfortunately, this one will go nowhere. We have to call it hemp to get anywhere in Texas, and hemp is adult use in Texas, he says.
Yeah, but and right, and and this is the and having to call it hemp is a symptom of a broken system.
I don't know. I mean, it's all cannabis sativa L. It's all got the same definition under the Controlled Substances Act, Yarrow. So whether you want to call it hemp, marijuana, weed, cannabis, it's all the same thing.
First of all, Jason's opinions changed drastically when he started selling them little damn gummies. Second of all, yeah.
I'm a free market capitalist, Jenny Beth. You have always known that.
I mean, look, hemp, it does have its problems. Everybody knows it. It's got its problems with mold, and it's got its problems with pesticides, and it's got its problems with synthetics that are sprayed on the weed that are not tested, and we don't know really where they come from or what they are. And that can be dangerous. And a little bit of regulation on the hemp market would be great to minimize those things. But other than that, I think hemp is a great thing and doing a great thing. And we should all support it. It is right. It's legal. It's the legalization we've wanted.
Yeah.
With the freedom that we've wanted, just not in the package that we wanted. So, you know, this is where I see a really big fight happening, primarily on X in the cannabis community, where cannabis is allowed to be talked about freely. And it's sad to see so many people fighting so deeply over this when there should be more unity, because we're a small group of people fighting for a very big fight, and we don't have a lot of people that have our back. And when we fight over these things, we just divide the community. And then what are we doing? We have less capability than ever. So we have to find common ground on these things and move forward and stop tearing each other down.
All I got to say, Jesse, is hemp, hooray.
Jesse, come on, look at us.
I mean, in all fairness, you know what I mean? All cannabis smokers, we specialize in breaking things down. I mean, we've been breaking things down to roll them up our entire life.
My wish for hemp and cannabis in Texas is they treat it like their brisket.
Treat it like brisket? I mean, that would be...
Treat it like their brisket. They
just
love
sauce
that
it up.
Meat, so they do it so good down there.
Are you saying that because you like spray packs?
I'm saying it because brisket is my comfort food, and Texas is on the map. Arguably one of the best places to get that piece of meat. Texas can do great
you like
things.
burn ends.
I have another joke that I'm not going to say right now.
Oh, man.
I'll take offline.
When my phone rings at 10:30 a.m. and it's Yarrow, I'm not going to be surprised.
I'll get you giggling and squiggling and squealing and anyway. But so Texas has great promise. It has great promise. It's not just a bunch of people that want to light everybody up in the electric chair for the death penalty. Texas is gorgeous. I mean, I'm not even into the tornadoes, but there's some really gorgeous. The River Walk is crazy amazing. It's the Venice of America. Texas is great. And their cannabis policy is so Swiss cheese.
I mean, let's be real. Speaking of the electric chair, didn't South Carolina just throw somebody in front of a fucking firing squad?
Yeah, but hold on, that guy elected for that form of death. He asked for that.
But the fact that that's an option is
electing for your form of death.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that.
Fuck it,
yeah, like get it over with fast. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want to be cooked from the insides. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't want a microwave oven death. I get it. Just saying. But it's very, you know what I'm saying, realistic. I don't know why you guys are all, you know what I'm saying, looking like that.
I'm gonna let you keep rambling on that one.
Well,
Nick said in the comments, he said, when has there ever been unity in the cannabis industry? And I agree with him. There hasn't been. That's what I'm talking about. That's the problem.
That's all.
One of these topics comes up, and one side says one thing and the other side says the other, and they start fighting each other, and we've got a much bigger enemy to be fighting, and that energy just gets wasted. And this is why big pharma and the other industries that hate cannabis kick our ass all day long, is because we fight over little dumb shit, and we take our energy away from each other instead of uniting. We can fight about that stuff later.
You know what? You bring up a really good point, Jesse, because that's the number one thing legislators in D.C. say why nothing ever happens with cannabis is because no one in cannabis can come to the table with, you know what I'm saying, this is what we want, this is what we want, and be on the same page with it. It's always this big infighting going on amongst everything.
100%. And you got to realize that Big Pharma, all of those companies are united against us.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason for that.
It's a fair point. Fair point. You have anything you want to say, Yarrow? It looked like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the diversity of opinion is important. I think that trying to get everybody on the industry on the same page can take more energy sometimes than just saying, here is the list of the diverse perspectives the industry shares. I think that Big Pharma may be on the same page because there are far less companies. There's a much greater consolidation of interest within that industry than there is in cannabis. And I think it's important to be able to disagree without being disagreeable. And so there are a lot of different stakeholders in cannabis. And I've seen the way in which trade policy and advocacy organizations often get bogged down in trying to create consensus. And I would just offer that creating consensus has a cost in terms of bandwidth and time. And so if we can say, as an industry, here's the 3 to 5 different opinions we have, and this is the reason why, I think sometimes we can get further faster that way.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. You know, I do find it interesting that that this article didn't mention another bill that got introduced in the House, Bill HB 4242, which I know a lot of the advocates in Texas are trying to rally behind too. So I find that a little interesting, but nonetheless, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of action going on in Texas. It's a big state with a lot of things going on, a lot of tumbleweed out there.
A lot of brisket. Amazing.
Oh, man. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Aim High Hemp Distribution and Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media Partners Anthony out there in the metaverse. That's right. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.